like to call to order the meeting of Monday, October the 24th, and if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk would please read the roll.
Councilmember Archibald. Here. Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Mosherak.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have the minutes before you from the regular meeting of October the 10th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Support.
Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Is there any changes to the minutes? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We have one public hearing tonight. If the clerk would please read that.
To receive public comments on the needs, desires, and both short-term and long-term goals regarding improvements to the public parks and recreation facilities in preparation for the new 2023-2027 Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Plan.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to public hearing number 1 on the 2023 through 2027 Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Plan? And
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city manager. You know, I'd like to make some really nice comments about our plan here, you know. When you look at the plan and stuff and you travel around the county and stuff, I would be fair to say that for playground equipment, the city of Port Huron is on a par with none. We are superior to any other group that I've seen in St. Clair County. But the only thing I see lacking in our development program for our youth and stuff like that, and I call them the tweens. It's the kids between elementary school age and the high school. And there's that gap there, and we don't see a lot of programs for them. And I just think that as we move our recreation program forward, that we try to include them. You know, these young people are in that gap there. Yeah, they can go out and find things and pay for lessons or pay to belong to a sport and stuff like that. But Port Huron isn't all that affluent that everybody can do that. And I think that this just might be a step that we, in our program for the future, that we make sure that we include these members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak under public hearing number 1?
Mayor Rep, City Council. Again, I just want to remind everyone that our master plan is our 5-year master plan and gives us the ability to apply for grants. So you'll see on the screen the survey. So if you were unable to attend the meeting today, we're still taking feedback for a couple more weeks at our survey at porthuronparks.com. There's more information at that website as well. But it's very helpful in us coming up with the 5-year plan. When we go for any DNR grants, they obviously need to be in this plan. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak to public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I declare public hearing number 1 closed, and we will move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council? Please come forward, give us your name and where you live, and you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Danny Beals. I live at 911 9th Street here in Port Huron. I come today, I'm going to try and keep the emotions down, but I come for Polly's Place. And I know that there's been some back and forth about Polly's Place. But what I would love to tell you is, as a parent of a child who spends a lot of time at Polly's Place, my son is cognitively impaired. At school, he doesn't have an even ground to stand on. At home, he doesn't have an even ground to stand on. Out in the streets, it's not even ground. Where even ground is at Polly's Place. Where Connor can be Connor, where Connor can learn to grow vegetables, become a productive member of society, help people less fortunate than him, and learn that he is not his disability. He is anything that he chooses to be at Polly's Place. And he can one day hopefully grow his own garden, and take care of himself, his family, and other people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council this evening?
Connor Bonin. I live at 911 9th Street. I have been working with Julian for 3 years, and I have been learning about fruits and veggies, and how to build a cob oven and to use a cob oven. We help Polly's Place with the homeless and the locals in need. Polly's Place has blessed my family with food, me with work clothes, and please understand that we need Polly's Place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Connor. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council this evening?
Julian Ruck, 1423 of the Pier, Polly's Place. Now it's my turn to get emotional. That was very kind. I sent a proposal today in long letter form to the mayor regarding the future of Harrison Point City Initiative as a nonprofit in this community, and really the future of Port Huron as a whole. I don't think anybody here doubts my sincerity at this point. And I don't think anybody in this room doubts my ability either. We have managed to grow what we're doing in that neighborhood and for the community while under duress. Now, I'd like to thank Councilmember Ruiz for visiting me in the garden, even in the rain. We had a nice little chat, and also congratulate him on his last council member meeting, and I believe 11 years. So congratulations there. And I'd also like to thank the mayor, who, after a few repeated attempts, we were able to meet up at the garden and talk. And I think everybody also agrees that Port Huron is a community facing a lot of challenges. And I think we may disagree about why that is, or who's to blame, or whatever. But the fact that, in particular, the Harrison Point neighborhood is an underserved community is self-evident. And what we're trying to do is have closer eyes on that neighborhood, as we've done. You know, I know a lot of people in that neighborhood on a first name basis as they come through and get veggies, as they just know what's going on. 3 seasons is a long time. There's also a piece of property in that neighborhood I paid back taxes on 3 seasons ago, saved from being taken by the county, and now a family of color lives there, and the only thing they need to pay is insurance and property taxes on that home. We've made some significant changes in that neighborhood, and as you well know, I feel as though my conversation with the city has been censored because the usual channels haven't worked. So now I'm here for having formed a nonprofit for a neighborhood, which is good, but the reason being is that we've been unheard. So it's called Harrison Point City. And when you go to bigger cities that have grown, you'll find near their downtown areas a little artsy area that has maintained its culture, that maybe had a little rent control going on. There's cafes, there's something where locals can still afford to live and work in the same city limits. I project and hope in 50 years that's what Harrison Point will be. And we can do that on our own, but we can get a whole lot further if we work together. And I'd like for you to look at us not as a threat, but an asset. If I can come here and give a back and forth presentation every spring and fall of how that neighborhood is doing, I would love to. It is my intention that this is the last time I come here for 4 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you. And I did forward your proposal to the rest of the councils for their review.
Also, thanks for your email, Councilmember Moshra.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and the City Council. My name's Conrad Haremza. Me and my family and my wife live at 313 Riverside, and I'm on the ballot in November for City Council. I grew up in Port Huron, graduated from Port Huron Northern. My first job was at the City of Port Huron, lifeguarding at Lakeside and Sanborn Pool. I graduated from Central Michigan and returned to work for St. Clair County Day Treatment Program, juvenile portion, and I really love the city. I'm excited to serve the city. I think the city has a lot of great momentum going, and I really want to be part of it. So I just want to introduce myself to anyone that hasn't met me. I'm Conrad Haremza.
Thank you for the introduction. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening? Seeing no one, we'll close public comment and move on to from the city manager, number 1.
Accepting the quote from United Systems and Software Incorporated in the amount of $34,400 to upgrade the software and provide professional services for the Department of Public Works automated meter reading system.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Support?
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Lamb. Do you want to give us a little background on that, please?
Yep, Madam Mayor and Council, we use a system called Itron, which is a software system. This software system we're currently using is now 10 years old. It's outlived its useful lifespan. So this is essentially the cost of doing business to upgrade the software. Itron is the most trusted in the market of metering. It's the reason why we use it. It's the reason why SEMCO uses it. And it's also the reason why DTE uses it in the city of Port Huron. So one of those things, after 10 years, we got to upgrade the software.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Any questions for the city manager?
Yes, and I know, and we kind of, just of lately, in the past 2 to 3 years, we've been upgrading all our systems, our software system, and this is this is the first for this one, isn't it, the Itron?
We kind of piecemealed out from going virtual service, but yeah, this is the first Itron
Oh,
major
okay.
update. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And I see it's a wastewater, and it was budgeted, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
If I may,
Yes.
for Mr. Freed, probably not even connected to this, but the other day I had a notice in my mailbox, and then never made an appointment for an inspection of water meters in my house. And I have a water meter for the sprinkling system. What was the reason for that?
It'll probably be your backflow preventer on your sprinkling system. That's probably what they're checking for, which is required an annual survey of a certain percentage of our system on an annual basis.
Even though doesn't the city, if memory doesn't serve me well anymore, but isn't that something the city put in?
On your sprinkler system?
No?
I would have to find out for sure.
Okay, just check. Thank you.
Yep.
Curious, that's all. No big deal.
Way to stump me on your last meeting. I said, way to stump me on your last meeting. Thank you for that.
Anything else? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Moserak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2.
Accepting the bid from Gorneo Ford in the amount of $176,624 for the purchase of 4 2023 Ford Inceptor utility vehicles for use by the police department in accordance with the State of Michigan My Deal purchasing program.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Support?
Councilmember Moserak, supported by Councilmember Lamb, and I do believe you have a little
Yep.
explanation of this.
Madam Mayor and Council, this may seem like deja vu because on September 12th, you authorized the purchase of these vehicles, and I made a joke at the time that it's wishful thinking because we may not get these vehicles. Turns out I was right. They would not be able to supply these vehicles until September 2023. So we went back out and we found a dealership that actually pre-ordered 60 of these vehicles. very wisely, and they're going to be able to deliver possession in February. They're also going to sell them to us at $2,719 cheaper a piece, resulting in a savings of $10,876. So we're not buying 8 vehicles, we're buying 4. We just couldn't source the first 4 in a timely fashion. So it actually worked out to our benefit.
Good for you.
Good thing. Any questions?
No, he answered it in his explanation. I got here saying it was deja vu. I was getting ready to. Okay, thank you.
We'll take the vote.
Yeah.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayorette?
Yes. Item 1 under resolutions.
Approving the allocation of American Rescue Plan funding to St. Clair County Community Mental Health in the amount of $148,000 over the course of 1 year for the purpose of providing mental health services to the City of Port Huron residents.
Is there a motion?
Yes. I mean, so move. Oh, I was thinking to myself, this is much needed. Yes. I'd like to move it.
Is there a second?
Support.
That was you, right, Councilmember? Yeah. Okay.
Madam Mayor and Council, part of the ARP funding guidelines also address mental health. There's been a huge need for mental health services in the community during COVID and post-COVID, and we're still dealing with the residual effects of COVID on the mental health within our community. We also have a second issue, which is we have a lack of mental health practitioners in the area. Meaning if you think you need to see some mental health professional, there's oftentimes a wait because of shortage of that kind of talent in the area. We reached out to the St. Clair County Community Mental Health to say, hey, what can we do? They're facing the same thing. If they wanted to bring on, for instance, with the childhood abuse and neglect, we hired additional therapists. With the BROC, we hired additional counselors. Those are talent we're able to acquire. Here they said we'd be unable to hire additional mental health professionals. So they brought a proposal to source it out to a third-party group called Talkspace, which would allow our residents to do telephone and Zoom and texting consultations with mental health professionals. They've offered a 3-year proposal. The administration is recommending a funding of 1 year. That would allow us to gauge how many people actually use it, and if the demand is there for the ongoing years. I have with us here tonight Adrienne Luckenbaker. Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry. Who is prepared to answer some of your questions you may have regarding the proposal. I reached out to Deb Johnson, but she's at a professional development event and couldn't make it tonight.
Does anyone have any questions about this? Yes.
Mayor Rep? Come on down. I apologize.
That's all right. Good.
I usually would have sent these in advance. However, I've been out of town for a week and a half and made my agenda a little late this weekend, and so I've got a little bit of a list that I usually would have done ahead of time for you guys.
Not a problem. I'd be more
So
than.
sorry to put you on the spot
That's
here.
all right. I will do the best I can.
So as Mr. Freed mentioned, one of the things I liked about the previous ARP allocations we did, I know with the CAN Council and with BROC, is that they were specifically towards staffing and program expansion, right? And this is more of just an online service. It looks like you guys are running the administration of it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, we would be the link to the telehealth services as administration for like assisting with intakes and directing folks to there. Yes.
Okay.
And if I could just expand on your answer. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Where the other funding has been directly for staff, this is a bit different. This is funding for telehealth staff, which telehealth has been very, very popular to bridge the gap for a lot of those folks that don't always feel comfortable walking in the building to get services. It's a way to be able to bridge the gap to those 14 and older for this particular program. So not just adults, but youth, to provide a lot of services. And we know that online services and telehealth are really proven to be very effective in the clinical model. So it's not, while the other agencies it was hiring of staff, this is actually a kind of a tool and a bridging tool as well too, to provide then in their services and to also bridge a gap for any continued services that may need to be done, which we can provide through our CCBHC grant.
Okay. So the cost of the program, as it's outlined, is then 100% of the money going to Talkspace, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are administrating it for free then?
Yes, we will do all the administration for free, yes.
Okay, so there's no separate administrator. I just wanted to make sure because it wasn't outlined in the proposal, and I just
No administrative fees from community mental health.
sorry, like I said, there's a list here. And now this is aimed at individuals, from reading it, aimed more at individuals without insurance, but that also don't have Medicaid, right?
It would actually.
This funding program.
Right, this funding program is actually applicable to all individuals 14 and up, whether they have insurance or no insurance. Talkspace does take insurance, but the insurance is, if you took a look, it's very obscure and kind of a very limited. I think there's 5 insurances and they're very, very limited. So this is not just for folks that don't have insurance. We certainly want to encourage those folks, but it could also be individuals that have insurance as well too.
Okay, but if the insurance is essentially, if I'm understanding it correctly, if their insurance is covered by Talkspace, then these funds wouldn't go towards.
Correct,
those
and it would be
funds.
billed towards their insurance, and CMH would be able to bridge that gap for the funding to make sure that the insurance get billed versus the grant funding.
Okay, and then during the 3-month, it's like a 3-month trial period, right? That they're basically getting.
It's a 3-month service program.
3-month service, yeah. So essentially, they get the first 3-month services covered. It's 1 session, video session per month.
Correct.
So 3 video sessions,
Correct.
and then the texting and all that sort of thing. Does CMH stay involved with the client during those 3 months?
There is a landing board where we're actually able to touch base, and when those service months are coming to an end, we can offer the individual options of either, continuing Talkspace on their own, or we can link them up to our services for care or other contract agencies and help them walk through that bridge for continued services. So we wouldn't just say, okay, good, you're done. We would go ahead and offer other services and supports after that, unless the individual chooses to be done at that point and feels that they've gotten the help that they needed.
Okay, and that answers my next question, is basically what's the plan for them after the 3-month, I'm calling it a trial period, but after, essentially, if there's no, if their funding's being covered for 3 months, and then all of a sudden they're going to have to come up with funding and only haven't had 3 sessions, sometimes just the casework that it takes to get someone from A to B to be able to plan for that funding. That's why I wanted to make sure there's some sort of.
No, that's a really good point. I don't know exactly the answer to that, but I would advocate for our agency to be able to work from the point of starting Talkspace, not waiting till the end. We do that a lot of times with services. We don't necessarily wait till the individual is towards the end of something to continue on that planning. I would advocate for our agency and certainly talk to Deb that there is plenty of information, coordination for those individuals at the point of entry of the program to know what the options are before they're completely done, whether it's linking directly to our services, other resources and different things that are available in St. Clair County and the city for those individuals as well too, so that they just sort of don't fall off the radar or the help and just say, hey, you're done and that's all. We don't want to see that. We want to continue to support them.
Okay, and then we're getting to the end here, I promise.
No problem.
The Talkspace parenting app, which is the other 48,000 out of the 148, it says that the parenting app is only available in conjunction with the Talkspace subscription outlined above. Does that mean it's only, I was trying, that verbiage, I didn't quite understand.
It was a little bit, and I get it because I actually asked myself that question I asked before I came here, and my understanding is that the 48,000 for just the app, you do not have to be involved in the 3-month service.
Okay.
This is something that, for my understanding, will be put out in information and flyers to the parents and the students of the district, and it's literally just a code that needs to be plugged in, and there's no expectation that they have to be enrolled in that 3-month service with the virtual 1 month and everything else. This is actually an add-on that's very separate than that, but I get how you were, I was confused about that too at first.
And then I guess this may be a question for Mr. Freed or you, we'll see. The first part is a reimbursement funding, correct? That's so that, we're essentially earmarking 100,000 for services, and that could serve up to 133 people, but if 30 people go through it, then only a fraction of that funding actually goes to CMH for the program. Does the same thing happen in the 48,000, or is the 48,000 we pay for the 48,000 subscription regardless of how many members actually use it.
I believe we'll be paying for the 48,000, make that available to up to 10,000 people.
Okay, okay.
And if I can add on to that, according to when our program supervisors and program manager talked to Talkspace, they actually said that if it was over 10,000 users, they would be okay with that. They just want to be able to get the information out. So if the code was given out and there's 20,000 users, they wouldn't charge us anything over that 48. They would just be able to accept those people that come in because they're happy to get the information and the resources out.
Okay.
So that's a
And then-
benefit. If we go over the amount, we're not charged or held responsible.
But if we're under the amount, we're still at the 48,000?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I think that wraps up all of my questions. So sorry if I took everyone else's.
I was going to say, I don't know how we could have any more questions, but thank you.
Madam Mayor and Council,
Like I
will
said, sorry, read it late.
No problem.
I will say, this is a second rendition of this proposal. I did work with CMH and their leadership team on making sure that we put the insurance in front of the grant. In the first proposal, it was just, we would pay for everything, which didn't make sense if there was insurance funding out there. So we worded the second rendition of the proposal, essentially saying, if you have insurance, that will come in first in line, and then we'll back it up with the grant funding. And that will hopefully allow us to impact the scope of who can be reached.
And just as addition to that too, CMH is committed for especially that parent app to use all of our resources that we can to be able to get the information out to the community because it's so valuable to be able to not only marketing sort of a big term, but to be able to provide that support for families. So we will definitely do everything in our power to get the word out to support the community. Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, let Bob go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, because it's a question that I've got a bit from our residents when we're dispersing the ARP funds. How does it work with the online and the talk to make sure that it's the residents of the city of Port Huron?
What would happen from my understanding is that the intake portion would actually come through community mental health, and they would be checking to make sure that the individual was a resident of the city of Port Huron. So we would do the checks and balances on our end.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Rupp?
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
Oh, what was your name?
Adrian.
Oh, Adrian.
Yes.
Adrian, what is the sustainability, the continuum after, you have this AARP? I happened to attend a session this past week, and a big part of that is that, this is, from the federal government for us to fill this gap and try to embrace and close, bring a little closer to lift up, where we could have been or should have been, and also take advantage of opportunities like you are taking, which is a very good one because it is, national. Mental health is, it is out there. It's a driver, and we need all the help we can get. So in the continuum, you're getting this money. So what can we hope for in terms of sustainability, the continuum of it?
Well, I can't speak directly to if we would be able to continue the affordability after the fact for the actual program itself, but speaking to this in two different ways, that we were able, and I apologize, that's why I became a counselor instead of a mathematician, 133 times 3.
No, it's okay.
But being able to provide that service to those people, that many people, that population, and then that number of people, I always like to say not everything bad is contagious. There's a lot of good contagious. And just thinking about being able to reach that, model that for individuals, for the rest of the community to be able to say it's all right to get help and support, whether it's a child looking at their parents, whether it's a police officer looking at another first responder, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a council member, reaching out to use something like this. I think that it will grow contagiously, exponentially, that people may not be as ashamed because of the stigma to then say, you know what? It was scary and I didn't want to walk into CMH's doors, but I've seen other people get the help. And if it's not there, being able to be able to link up to so many, and CMH isn't the only game in town. There's so many wonderful different agencies. Maybe it's just a matter of someone being brave and talking to their school counselor where they didn't feel like they could do it before, but they saw mom and dad being able to click online once a week and look at some of the sources of their anxiety. So the hope is that starting this starts the conversation, bridges those gaps, and builds those gaps. I can't speak 100% for it, but I know that there are always different kinds of fundings and grant options like our CCBHC grant that we were fortunate to get. So if we see this as being something which I firmly believe will, exponentially affect folks, that could be something that we could look at sustaining funding down the road after the 3 years.
but that would be an executive decision.
And if I may add to that as well, the reason for the ARP funding, specifically, we are trying to mitigate the mental health effects of the pandemic. And so after meeting with the experts at Community Mental Health, it's amazing how many, even my professional peers, high-ranking government officials who do not feel comfortable walking in to CMH. I'm not sure if I would feel comfortable walking into a counseling center to have my picture taken and put up on Facebook. And, you know, it's like, so you do worry about that as a public official. A lot of our first responders may not feel comfortable seeking out treatment. And so the ARP funding is, again, we're targeting for, there's a lot of PTSD with COVID. And a lot of people to just initially get that, you know, to dabble with therapy, to dabble with some help. Again, we have possible for multi-year funding here. Our administration's recommendation is that we hold back additional ARP fundings for the out years to see if this program is tremendously successful. We'll come back next year, fund another round, and then find ways to leverage that funding with additional funding for sustainability.
Thank you. Is there other questions?
Just a comment. First off, you represent your organization very, very well. You're well-spoken, you provide a lot of good information. I'm also sitting here thinking that's proud to think that we've done that kind of planning and contributing this money, as everyone knows, it is so necessary. And then to look down the road to say, hold back some money just in case this is a success, and I suspect it will be, that it'll all work out that way. But good move.
Anyone else?
Nope, great job.
Yeah, you did a nice job. I assume you'll be providing figures to the city as to
Yes, figures,
usage.
feedback. Yeah, we're going to make sure we give you a lot of data to be able to support this. Absolutely.
And thank you for coming and
Thank
answering
you.
questions.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I could, just on that aspect in the reporting, we will be bringing back report cards now from some of the funding we've done previously throughout the year and in the coming weeks to present to council. Jackie's here today. She actually did a very good story on ARP funding throughout the county, and I think it was last Sunday's paper, on how we spent our money. And to the community out there, this is not just lobbying money. If you go back to where the money has gone, we've addressed drug abuse and recovery. We've addressed the effects on our children through child abuse and neglect, bringing on additional forensic therapists. Now we're addressing the community mental health situation. And now we have one more on the list, which I'll be bringing you a proposal for, hopefully the next couple months, which is addressing our homeless population. We continue to meet with our stakeholders, the coordinating services body, to look at options for that. It's a more complex issue, but I hope, I have confidence that the residents are now seeing the strategic method in which we have deployed these funds in a much more rapid fashion, because I think, as Councilmember Ruiz said, they're meant to rescue our population from COVID. And so we are getting those rescue dollars out there. We're not putting them in the bank for future political gain or for something else that's coming down the road. We're getting those out and getting the resources to the people who need them as fast as possible.
Thank you. We will take a vote, and thank you very much for answering questions.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We will move on to ordinances.
Second reading and enactment. An ordinance to amend Chapter 52 zoning, Article 3, District Regulations, Division 1, generally, Section 52-162 map of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances to rezone the property generally described as 3550 vacant lot Electric Avenue from a C1 zoning district to an A2 zoning district, which is that high-rise multifamily residential district.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by Councilmember Ashford. Is there any discussion? We did have this before us at the last meeting.
Oh, we had it before. Oh, I just said,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember we had it before. Another step.
Questions? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, and that concludes the regular part of our agenda. On announcements, leaf pickup at the curb began October 17th, and will run through November the 26th. Both Zone 1 and Zone 2 will receive leaf pickup every week during the six-week program. Leaves may also be placed in yard waste bags or containers marked with an X for pickup on your regular residential trash day through December the 15th. And then, before we go any further, this is Councilmember Rui's last council meeting. I'm sure he'll come back and see us though, right? No? You know, we already did this once before, so it's kind of like.
Ken. I'll sit right next to Ken.
Just sit right next to Ken. You know, we're going to have a whole section over there for previous council members.
You crazy.
No, better than Lakeside is right. Absolutely. But I do want to say thank you for filling in. I appreciate it. I'm sure the rest of the council and the community appreciates it as well. You came forward at a time when we were going through COVID and everything else and had a vacancy, and you put your name back in there, and we're very grateful that you did.
And please allow me to say, for every one of you, thank you for that opportunity. I know that's not easy to do because you had a listing of people, but I felt comfortable in stepping forth, and because there's part of this you're going to miss forever and ever. And then I also recognize that 2 years sounds like a good time, and I had already bragged to all my friends I was done with all this stuff. So I had a lot of grief with that, but it's worked out well, and I admire all of you for sitting here. You're a neat person. If you've done this, you get a license to speak out on a lot of different things, and you're doing a good job. Don't let it slide. It's easy for that to happen, and you're doing a good thing, and things are going well. I told our potential new council person that was the case, and I'm sure he'll carry the standard and do well with it. But to thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good work for all of you.
Well, we appreciate you, and I know we gave you a plaque once before, so we do have a little memento, but it's not here tonight, so you're not going to get it tonight. But not another plaque. I didn't know you were going to hang those on your wall anyway, but it will not be another plaque. But we do appreciate it. And is there anyone else on council who'd like to add anything to what I said?
I think you covered it.
Yeah, just a big thank you.
Yeah, I think
Very big thank you.
I just want to
pleasure.
personally say thank you, Rico, for all the help behind the scenes. And people don't know that out there. Sometimes, you know, we're a body and we work together. And you certainly showed me that respect, that inclusiveness, and, you know, and connected with me on things that were kind of struggling there. And so I just want to publicly say thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
I think I'd add to that the wisdom that you've lent to, and the leadership. How well you speak and how calm you've always stayed, and you've set a great example for all of us sitting up here. So I thank you for that as well.
I mean, I'm the oldest one on the council right now.
No. I said wisdom, not age.
I was going to say wisdom always implies age. You know that, don't you?
Thank you, Sherry.
Anybody else?
Madam Mayor and Council, just thank you again, Rico, for your mentorship. Rico's the one that if he wants to haul you into the woodshed, he'll do so quietly, and I appreciate that. He has made me a better leader. I actually got a phone call today. I got a text message from my assistant. She said, Rico wants you to call, and you're just like, it's like the prince getting called to the principal's office. It's like, okay. I was like, I'll give him a call right now. So I will do a lot to be learned from your temperament and how you compose yourself in the public, and I have tried to learn from that. Not very well, but I will continue to learn from you. Also, with that said, Nancy wanted me to mention that we have the Halloween stroll at Sanborn Park this Saturday. Are there still spaces available if people go online? There are still spaces available. They do go fast, but that is on Saturday, and I think we're going to get some decent weather.
You have to sign up?
Yes.
We're all dressing up like Councilmember Lee.
Yes, yes.
Mayor, I have a question. Are we finished with this part?
I was just going to say, we will miss you.
Yes,
Very much.
Okay. When you were at the leaf pickup, does that mean the bags stop at that time too?
The bags stop on December 15th.
On the bags stop?
On the bags on December 15th.
On
but
December
the leaf pickup
15th.
stops on November 26th.
Right, I got that one, but it wasn't defined too clear for me when The bags.
The bags are December 5th.
I think it should be noted the innovation in the schedule this year on leaf pickup. So we treated the city in different sections, but the truth of the matter is some parts of the city have less leaves than other parts of the city. So arbitrarily moving all of your resources because the week changed, and you would get backed up on one part of the city and then you'd be cleared out on the other part of the city, and it really didn't make sense at all. And so what they've done is, and we relied to the experts and we said, what would you do? And they said, we would have teams going in every section of the city consistently. That way, on the heavy parts of the city, they're consistently going at it rather than waiting until they get mountains and then you're backlogged and then you're backlogged a week later. So we think this will go really well this year. It's a new innovative schedule. If it doesn't go well, it was Eric Witter's idea.
I hear you.
Yes.
No.
Exactly. No snow.
That's usually what causes us grief is when it snows, so.
And also, Mayor, and just this past week, attended a convention in, where were we, in Muskegon, and I'm not going to get the whole 9 yards, but I've never been so much overwhelmed with hearing the things that we are doing here in the city of Port Huron. You hear a lot of people giving a lot of lip service about what's not happening. These are people that are outside looking at us. And I had the opportunity to moderate a police session in Port Huron, and Chief knows that I talked with him before this meeting. And I mean, Kalia and all that, we're doing great. Nancy with the parks, they say, you know, Port Huron is knocking it out of the park. You know, how we have everything here and how we have just, you know, catapulted to the front here. And I know there's a lot we still have to do, but I kind of find out, you know, you still have to have a challenging nature about yourself. You can't get too set, you know, like, oh, we doing all this, you know, and that's fine. And it's not that, you know, you have to look at yourself, step outside and look at it, and always continue to be better, continuous improvement. But we are there, and I think sometimes that our residents, we don't tell the story. We can't tell it all up here as leaders, but we have to look at it both ways. What's good's happening, and what else that we need to keep continuously doing. You can maintain, but you can stay there for so long. You can't stay there a long time. You got to keep growing. But they had the dream booth, and I got in there, and in terms of I got in there, and then I found myself, my God, I was just piping off, it just ran off, and then the guy that was running told me, my God, I'm gonna have to come to Port Huron. What's happening there? And I couldn't think of, he said, just 2 words. I said, we're moving forward. You know, we're not staying behind. It doesn't mean you have to go and buddy up and be up here and agree with everybody. You know, if you see it, all of us come together collectively and put our thoughts and ideas in there to help us all become the greater and the better Port Huron that we are to be. So I just want to thank the chief and especially the staff, because you guys are really making us look good. Yeah.
Well, I guess I would add to that, because I obviously was at the same conference you were at, but just to add to that, that I think that the most important thing is that we have a good reputation in the state of Michigan now, something that was amiss for a while. And, you know, people do look at us for everything that we've done, so.
Yeah, and Pauline, you had the same problem, because we both are in meetings, you being one, and sometimes you don't want to say anything. They say, oh, do you hold back a bit, and you just listen and let them say it, you know, tomorrow you're from Port Huron. And I ran to you in the hall a couple of times, and you see it too. I thought, my God, what do we do? I said, it seems like we're just already there, you know. And so we need to start telling the story and the appreciation for what we do see that's going right here, you know, as far as our city is concerned. So thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So move, Madam Chair.
Adjourn.